Once Mahatma Gandhi said, India lives in villages. Baba Sahib Ambedkar asked him, which village you are talking about? There are 2 villages in every village. The village for the upper caste people, there's a village for the scheduled caste, Kavani. She's called Kavani. Now when this film director, Janavel, went for location, he was struggling to find the tribal settlement. So he went to the colony and asked them, where are these Irula tribes are there? Then they showed, oh, that place, a forsaken place, where there are no roads, there are only buds are there. Where there are no electricity, they have no ration card, they have no Aadhaar card, they are not covered by voter list. Are they not Indian citizens? Are they not entitled to select their own people? They are not there. They are excluded society. Therefore, this Janavel gave an interview to a paper. He said, India lives in 3 villages. The main village, there is a colony, and there is a tribal colony. Now, when we are going to have 1/5 humanity outside, can we still talk about human rights? That is why I am saying, this visually comes to your house, you may even give her a coffee in your drawing room. But when Shengedi comes, you will not even allow her. This is the theoretical difference that we have. We do not treat them equal. Then what is the point in praising Jai Bhim? Jai Bhim is a slogan. Because this film is taken in all languages, they were looking for a common title. And it so happened, the victory of the film, Jai Bhim, the title is really important. Wherever I go, people say, Jai Bhim Chandru. Within a month, I am known as Jai Bhim Chandru. I am proud. This slogan can unite the affected people in this country into one platform. Bring their demand. What is this film aiming at? 2 things it is aiming at. One, that there is a victimized family by the police torture. Raja Khan was killed by the police. Why was he killed? He was suspected to be connected with the theft. Was he connected? No. Then why did he go called to the police station? Now that is a very important story. A token or a lip service for human rights. It has to be a all-round effort. All-round the year, we should make efforts to have human rights. It should run into our blood. It cannot be a mere lip service. Therefore, I feel that we cannot have a one-day human rights. Human rights should be in our system. It is in that sense, every day should be a human rights system, human rights day, and then it is appropriate that we observe anytime we think there should be a human rights violation. We should also have a meeting like this to speak, discuss, and take a decision on such violations. Because day in and day out, there has been violations of human rights. There has been complaints of human rights. And then we just, as a passive observer, we just see this and go away. And it is that sense, every time when we talk about human rights, we try to emphasize. Now this topic of human rights is a very complex one. We can start from anywhere and end anywhere because it permeates in all walks of our life. In fact, this morning, we had a Tamil Thai fight. Everybody automatically got up and stood in respect of the Tamil Thai fight. Even people who are not speaking Tamil, even who are not Tamilian, were also standing because they respect the sentiments of the state. That at the start of every function or an official function, we have Tamil Thai fight. Suppose you don't stand. The Vijayendra, who is the Kanchi Mutt seer, he did not stand for a human Tamil Thai vote. Now there were people who are protesting. He may be a religious leader, but why he is not standing? Then someone said, he did not stand because it is a prayer song. But when there was a national anthem, he stood up. So national anthem, he stood up. Tamil Thai vote, he did not stand. When people protested, they were arrested because they did not have permission to protest. You know, in this country, under Article 19(1), you have a right of expression. And a protest is form of an expression. But then if you want to protest, you will have to take permission from the police or from over the authorities. Therefore, these people were arrested for protesting against a particular religious leader, a denominational leader, for not standing. Now they went to the court. The Madurai bench of the Madras High Court last week delivered a judgment. Since all of you have access to internet and also have a computer or an Android phone, you must watch all these things because nothing should go without notice. In every news, there is a message for us. In every publication, there is an element of human right. If you don't look at it, then there is no use in learning human right or celebrating human right. Now, when this case went to the Madras High Court, one judge who heard the case delivered a judgment, very peculiar judgment. He said, you need not stand up for Tamil Thai Vartu because it is like any other prayer song. But you should stand up for national anthem. Because it is a national anthem, the whole country has to stand. It is a question of a patriotic spirit. Not only patriotic spirit, there is an act called Insult to National Honor Act. If you don't stand, you can be punished. Many times in our country, people understand or implement only when there is a punishment. Only when there is a sanction that if you don't do this, you will be punished. You saw in the lockdown time, people should not move out. When they go out, then police arrest them, they seize the vehicle. So there is such an amount of coercion. In every law, there is a certain amount of state coercion. If you do not obey, if you do not pay the tax, there will be penalty, there will be interest, sometimes there will be imprisonment also. Not only in revenue laws, traffic laws, everything there is a punishment. Does it mean that only when there is punishment we should obey? What about the constitutional right, a right of expression, right to carry on whatever duty you feel like doing? Now if you take the question of national anthem, I leave aside this judgment, it is for you to read the judgment. Understand what is the implications of this judgment. I may not agree with the judgment. If all of you, some of them are not Tamil speaking, you also stand up. You respect the sentiment of the Tamil people. Therefore, there is nothing like, I will only do this and I will not do that. If you want to go by the whole, the sentiments of others, then you also have certain amount of accommodation. Please read the judgment and come to your own conclusion. But taking leave from there, you take the case of national anthem. Today I am going to speak on human rights, not on Jai Bhim. Therefore, let me explain some of these issues, which are very complicated, which comes in every walks of our life. Every time we meet these issues. When I was a school student, there was a Indo-China border dispute in 1962. Now there was an aggression on the northeast of India. When there is an aggression by a foreign forces, then people are made to think that patriotic feeling should be aroused. Patriotic feeling, how you show? You show in a sense, when there is a national anthem, you stand up, erect, salute the national flag. But then they move, many of these people in this country do not even know what is national anthem. Therefore, what did they do? In all cinema theatres, at the end of the cinema, they started putting national anthem. First they thought they'll put in the beginning. Normally only at the end of the function we have national anthem. But in cinema theatres, they started putting as a first national anthem. So what did the people do? One person will ask, as the film started, no, they are having some song going on. We'll go afterwards. So people avoided it. If you go inside, you'll have to stand up. If you don't go inside, you need not stand up. Then what the government did was, they passed an order, it will be put at the end of the cinema. So as soon as the credit scenes are coming. People used to go to the cycle stand, motorbike stand or car park, just leave. So you can see the whole crowd going away. The government felt very awkward. It was for inculcating patriotism. You want to show national anthem, and people don't obey, or they have their own things to do, catch their own bus, train, or take out the cycle. Then they stop putting this national anthem. Better not to exhibit national anthem as a test of testing one's patriotism. Now this went on for quite some time. I'm talking about 1962. It was stopped after a few years. Later in Kerala, they started putting this in all schools. In our country, everything started only with the school. In fact, yesterday, the National Human Rights Commission member, Jyotika Kalra, she herself is a lawyer. She wrote an article in an online magazine called Print. She said, Jai Bhim should be made as a school curriculum. She also gave her own version of why it should be a school curriculum. First of all, you must know one thing. Every film that is exhibited requires a censorship certificate. Don't think that you have a right to express whatever you want. You may express within the four corners of the wall. You can tell your friend. But if you want to exhibit a film in public, it has to go through the censor board. There will be a censor officer, advisory panel. They will say you must impose these cuts. Like which this Jai Bhim film went to a censor board, and they suggested 46 cuts for giving certificate. Without a censorship certificate, it can be a U certificate, which means universal. Anybody can see it. UA means under adult supervision. A boy can see only with the mother or the father. Then there is adults only. Only adults who are above 18 years can see it. So when this film went to the censor board gave a certificate saying adults only, because some of the scenes in the lockup, they felt it should not be seen by the children because of so much sensibilities are affected. Then the people who produce a film ask the censor board, why don't you, considering the value of the film, why don't you give some other certificate? They said 46 cuts. That means the entire lockup scene will go, police meeting will go, then there will be nothing in this film. So they refused to put any cut in the movie. Finally, it has been shown as an adult only. Now, why do you think that the children should not see it? Now you find one National Council member, Human Rights Commission member, says it should be made as a school curriculum. Does she not know it has got an adults only certificate? Yesterday I was in Europe. I went to a school. Every children has seen the film, notwithstanding the certificate. Normally, when we go to theatre, do the counter Allah will see us. No, not allowed. You don't have a bush. You don't have the height. Get out. We can't see adults only film today. Thanks to OTT, everybody can see whatever they want. Now it is in that sense, this Kerala Education Department, when they issued a circular, they said in school assembly, you should have national anthem sung by the children, and every children must attend the assembly, and they should also sing the anthem. Nothing wrong. We all think it's all part of our life. But there is some people who have a religious persuasion. For them, nation doesn't mean anything. The river doesn't mean anything. State doesn't mean anything. Language doesn't mean anything. They believe in the ultimate God. Therefore, they said, why should we stand and sing this song? We will stand and show our respect. But we will not sing because we do not believe that singing the praise of a river or a language or a nation or a border, it doesn't appeal to our religious faith. And our constitution, thanks to Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar's stewardship, this constitution provides for a right of religious faith of any choice. The choice is not of the government. Choice is that of the people. Therefore, you cannot say there will be one nation and one religion. We belong to a mosaic country. People of all religious faiths are there. So when this Biju Emmanuel and his two sisters attending the school assembly did not sing this song, they were suspended from the school. They went to the Kerala High Court and finally the matter reached the Supreme Court. Very sensitive case because we always believe that if the government says do something, you must do. We have been made to, like a puppets, sing, you can sing, keep quiet, you can keep quiet, run, you must run, or sit in one place, you must sit. Very interesting questions came in courts. I have a right to life under Article 21. The state must protect my right to life and livelihood. But do I have a right to kill myself? Do I have a right to have a suicide? If there is a positive right, why not I have a negative right also? The right to life includes right not to live. Very recently we saw when this movement against corruption started, they are squatting in Ramlila Maidan in Delhi. They want to sleep during night time in the ground. Police want to remove them, saying you can't sleep in a public place. Matter went to Supreme Court. One of the argument was, I have a right to sleep. Not only right to be awake. Many times when there are boring lectures, we go to sleep also. This happens often. It is in that sense, the argument that was advanced in Biju Emmanuel case in Supreme Court was that if my religion provides certain faith, you cannot compel me to sing. I have full respect for your song. I am standing up with all reverence, but I will not sing because my religion do not believe in this. Now the judges had a very difficult case because anybody would have thought, no, children should obey the parents. That's the first human right violation. They must obey the school authorities. They must obey the teachers. They must obey the school management. Everything they must obey. And then they continue to obey everything which are wrong in this world. It is in that sense, the Supreme Court said, Justice Chennappa Reddy was known for his very revolutionary views on religion and the fundamental rights of the Constitution. He delivered a judgment saying that it is not a crime if a person do not sing. If a person disrespects, your law may come into place. If a person insults, there is an insult to National Honor Act. Therefore, he can be arrested. And therefore, they gave a judgment. People were shocked because we have a very limited understanding of what is freedom. What is freedom of expression? There are some people who welcome, people with mature mind, people who are also imbibed in human rights, they welcome this judgment. But there are people who did not welcome it. Some of the members of parliament wanted to impeach the judge who gave the judgment. They started collecting signatures, saying this judge should not deliver judgment. Which means, does it mean the choice of the individual? Judgments are delivered on the basis of the Constitution and the law. And it is one of the final judgments. Biju Emmanuel was the state of Kerala. You must read the judgment. Today, access to information available in a touch of a button. It does not belong to lawyer and lawyer office. It is not only in law journal. You can just see the judgment. Biju Emmanuel was the state of Kerala. One of the finest judgments, quoting from all over the world, authorities for the judgment. But the judges were thought to be removed from their seat. Thanks to the intervention of the Prime Minister, this was stopped. Now, where do you go from this? National anthem did not stop in the Biju Emmanuel case, it also continued. Some people said, in our country, patriotism is going down. What we do, we should make compulsory singing of national anthem. And we should introduce, once again in cinema theatres, compulsory national anthem. Not in the beginning, not in the end, but during interval time. Now started. One person went to Gujarat High Court. Gujarat High Court dismissed saying, it is not the business of the court to make laws. You go to the government. After some time, the same person went to the Supreme Court. Make national anthem in all cinema theatres. And one judge took a fancy for this. He thought he has to prove that his patriotism is supporting this. An experiment which was failed some 40 years ago, it was revived by a court order, not by parliament, not by the government, by a court order. Even today, the judge who gave judgment in Madurai case said there is no order of the government to stand up when there is an Tamil Thai order. That is the reasoning. That means you should compel people by law, compel people by an order of the government. Therefore, when this judgment came, what important, very important thing, people were arrested in cinema theatres. They went for an entertainment, and for some reason they were trying to go, there may be some message from home, or some other reason they were not standing. They were all arrested in cinema theatres. It is not merely the government. Today in our country, we have a section of the group of people who became law enforcers. They became moral police. You should do this or you should not do this. You can love or you should not love. There are so many individual groups which are attempting to enforce these laws. That is the most dangerous thing. Instead of having law enforcement left to the state, we are having private armies to enforce. So these groups started attacking people. In one case, one individual was prosecuted in court. Unfortunately, he told the judge, I don't have legs to stand. How will I stand? I will sit only or in a wheelchair. Again, the matter went to court. The judge got embarrassed. He said, physically handicapped people need not stand. Then who will decide who is physically handicapped, who is not physically handicapped? I am physically handicapped. I can't hear. If I can't hear, how will I stand up also? These are all very ticklish things. Though goes along with human rights and law enforcement. People are subject to these tests in the courts. And finally, the same judge, after finding there has been a lot of misuse, he withdrew the judgment. He said, laws will have to be made by the parliament and not by the court. You should have understood this in law college, not after becoming Supreme Court judge. I am not criticizing, I am only saying, we cannot in our enthusiasm attempt something new and then try to force people. It is in that sense I started with Viju Emmanuel, who are school children, who may not know the intricacies of all these things. Now, our Madam Chandra Tenkacharam, the subject of children is dear to her. She has worked in her entire life for the welfare of the children. And sometimes I had associated with her. When it comes to children, what does the Constitution say? There are 4 articles in our Constitution talking about children. If you have an opportunity to read, see the Constitution. The first few articles you can see. It's one of the beautifully written Constitution where the children never went out of the lawmaking process. That is the greatness of our Constitution. No world in this country, no country in this world has a Constitution with a political philosophy, social philosophy, a humanitarian consideration written into the Constitution. And this Constitution says, your children below 14 years cannot work. Now if you see this, if you go for putting air for your two-wheeler, you will find one boy standing there. Go to a hotel, one boy will be cleaning the plate, cleaning the table, bringing water. Go anywhere, you will find child labor. Now the Constitution says there can't be child labor. But then in our life we see, this is the essence of human rights. We have beautiful laws written all over, the enforcement is zero. She knows. In fact, we work in some other cases. You know, you go to Sivagasi, there are fireworks, there are match industries, there are firecracker industries. Children are made to work in those places. The Supreme Court, entertaining a public interest litigation, especially about Sivagasi, appointed a Supreme Court committee of 3 senior lawyers. I was asked to help because I come from Tamil Nadu. The 3 senior lawyers were coming from Delhi and they are not familiar with Tamil. And there was a senior advocate by name R.K. Jain. We went to all the factories. The law relating to child labor says no children below the age of 14 years shall be employed in any factory where there are dangerous substances are there. You know, match has got a potassium nitrate, firecrackers have got deadly chemicals. And then the brief given to the committee was, to find out whether actually children are working in these factories. Then this R.K. Jain, senior advocate, we entered a match factory. He asked one girl, mostly girls are employed, because girls have to work, boys will go to school. That seems to be our gender justice in this country. But thanks to Barrister Aitaraj, he is a missionary. He started a college for women, even in those days. But then we find our girls are working in this factory. And when they go to the factory, they will be going with only with the frock, the shirt, top shirt. When they go inside the factory, they will put their davani on, the half saree. So that if the inspector comes, they will say, what is your age? 15. So when the Jain asked every girl who is working there, what is your age? And I translated this. Amma, why say ola kekararu? 15, 16. It went on like that. Nobody said about below 14. So this senior advocate from Delhi got exasperated. He found everybody said there are children, they look like children only, but everybody said above 14. I told him, sir, before we come, they have been instructed to say this. When a law is passed by the parliament, many people think that it's written in a very legal language, nobody will understand. But people who are affected by the law will be the first to understand. So the factory management told every girl, somebody will be coming from outside, please tell them, whenever they ask you, tell this as the age. The whole factory was saying from 15 to 17, never below 14. He asked me how to get this out. I told him, simple. These children are all tutored. You put your question differently. How? Ma, how long you have been working? Then we changed the question. He is asking, எவ்வளவு நாளா வேலை செய்றேன்? 4 வருஷமா வேலை செய்றேன். Then the truth came out. It all came out. And this Jain, who is very much concerned about the children's child labor, he wanted to ask me, you ask this girl, Amma, you want to become Prime Minister of this country? He thought everybody is entitled to become higher posts, can aspire. So I asked one girl, she didn't understand what this question is about. She was laughing because the girl, innocent, never went to school, unlettered, made to work even below 14 years. And we have a very fine law. She knows. Then we found what happened to the execution ministry, what happened to the prosecution ministry, what happened to the court. So in the evening we had a meeting with all the match factory owners. They all said in the presence of the Supreme Court committee, sir, please don't spoil the atmosphere in Sivakasi. We are like Putti Japan. We are giving employment to everybody. You see the factory, men wanted, workers wanted, and don't spoil this good atmosphere. According to them, they are giving employment to children who otherwise will starve. This is a standard excuse given in respect of all child labor. Go to any house, one girl will be working. We brought them from our village. They have other no means of survival. Now I tell these children, sometimes I also give them some little education. Otherwise they will be starving. So everybody become very condescending, very patronizing. You are doing something against law, you become a patronizing of the issue itself. Therefore we had a meeting where everybody said don't give any adverse report. Then the report was submitted to Supreme Court. Supreme Court said we must increase the penalty and that money should be given to the children so that in future they will make use of that money. These are all some what is called as a very synthetic solutions. We had a meeting of all the judicial magistrates who are hearing these cases. How much you are convicting the wrongful person. One magistrate told us, sir, why should we convict? We should congratulate that person who is giving them job for these poor people. So according to the magistrate, that the employer should be praised for employing child labor. He should not be punished. So we found the acquitted. We analyzed 156 cases. We found 150 cases, the offenders were let out. Because the magistrate thinks it is duty. In fact, one magistrate had the audacity to write in his order that instead of praising, facilitating this employer, it was wrong on the part of state to prosecute them. When we have an enforcement machinery which is insensitive, when you have a labor department which does not prosecute, when we have parents who continue to send their children to make money, then how will children be able to avoid this? This will be the only country you will find for the IAS officers and the government servants. There is a rule, conduct rule. One conduct rule says you shall not employ child labor. There is a rule like that. What does that signify? That there is a continuous violation of this rule. We have Article 21A, which talks about right to education, right to free compulsory education up to the age of 14 years. But how the children are moved outside the school room? How that they are holding some mechanical tools and working in an automobile workshop? That is the gap between the law and the enforcement, between the law and the reality, between the real and the real life. Everybody said I am the real hero in that film. That's not the issue at all. If Biju Joshi comes to your house, you will welcome her, you will patronize her. If Sengaidi comes and knocks on your door, you know, it may not be the same thing. That is the difference between real and real life. When that distinction goes, I think we will be realizing little amount of human rights. It's the most important thing. We have found child labor is not abolished in this country. Not single prosecution is ever succeeded. On the other hand, it is on the increase. The children don't come to school. Every children who is within the age group of 14 are not enrolled. Maybe in some places, on paper they would have been enrolled. And this film, on the other hand, emphasizes literacy as one of the greatest missions. The mother who comes to court puts her left thumb impression in the court papers. Shekhedi. In the film end, you will find the Ali, the daughter, she sits in a chair comfortably in the lawyer's office, house come office. She reads the newspaper. The lawyer smiles at her. Maybe for the first time he ever smiles at the film. In fact, they want to depict me actually. I used to be a very moody person, they used to say. So in this film, for a contrast, the lawyer is shown as a little smile. Now when Ali reads the newspaper, what is the message? That literacy is the liberating factor for the people who are scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. Because the literacy brings you dignity. The literacy takes you out of animal existence. The Supreme Court in Mohini Jain case said that Article 31 guarantees liberty. It proves dignity in life. We are not having animal existence. In order to avoid animal existence, there must be literacy. Literacy alone can make people have enjoyable Article 21. That is the judgment of the Supreme Court, because Article 21 has got only one sentence. Now the Supreme Court judgment have expanded the scope of the article. It has expanded to such an extent, people have right to access to public facilities, right access to public roads, right access to burial ground. Today we do not have a burial ground for everybody in this country. Burial grounds are segregated. I know I delivered a judgment in 2010, 2009 in Madurai that there cannot be a caste-based burial ground. Burial ground should be common. In 1920 Municipalities Act, every municipality is expected to maintain a cremation shed and a burial ground. But then you find in Madurai, every caste has got a separate burial ground. So I wrote the judgment that when a government maintains a burial ground, government maintains a cremation shed, why there is a reservation? Why there should be a Brahmin burial? Why they don't bury cremation ground? Now one group wanted to add to this segregation, and that case came before me. I asked them, when we are born from different womb, we come from different places. But at least on the death, why not we go to the same place? What distinction it makes if you have a separate burial, separate cremation shed? In order to emphasize this point, in 1954, there was a film in Tamil, Rabbayin Kadal, and there is a song, Samarasam Kana Ulagale, Andi Marasanam, Samarasama Ulavu Vidame, in the burial. That is, even a pauper and the prince, will find equality only in cremation ground. This I wrote in my judgment and told the government, you should abolish all this segregation. Government did not abolish, that's a different issue. But the Hindu paper wrote, a High Court judge quoting cinema song. Maybe that's the first time. I said the cinema has become part of the folklore. Unelected people understand the minute you quote a cinema song. There is nothing wrong in sending the message. This message must go. So I wrote this judgment. Indictment went to appeal. Some people filed appeal. They are not satisfied about this so-called equality. The bench also upheld my order and said, it's a beautiful song that the single judge has quoted it. And the judgment remains as a judgment. But one film producer, by name, he is a film director, well-known film director, Amshan Kumar, he took a film, Manushangada. It is not the first film which comes up in the case. There are several cases that are taken as film. That Manushangada is a film based upon my judgment. In that, they find difficulty in to find a burial ground. And therefore, they go to many places. Finally, they go to the High Court and they show one judge giving them order. Finally, they could not bury in the same place because the local resistance. So when you talk about human right, it is not merely well written in paper and court orders, but it is also enforceable. How do people accept this? Do people accept it? Do you have such maturity to accept it? We can write one order that should be absolute equality. Is that equality will come by itself? In fact, Madam Chandra was quoting from the UN Declaration. All men are equal. The US Constitution contains an article. All men are equal. What about women? What about blacks? 200 years ago, they wrote the Constitution and they never thought about the women. They never thought about the blacks. But over the period, today the blacks, you cannot say they are being discriminated. Though there is a certain amount of racism. You cannot say women are discriminated in the United States. But the word remains the same. But the content got changed because of the society's development. That is most important. Law can be written. The content of the law should be made into a reality. But what did the British do? They are very clever. They passed an act called General Clauses Act. Wherever the word he, read it as she also. That means he will include she. In our Tamil folklore, we will find Umayoru Bhagan, that the woman becomes part of the other male. Ardhanarishwara. Equal. The equality is never recognized in our society. Society is still discriminating. That is why we have gender-sensitive classes, gender-sensitive orientation programs, gender studies. Even today, whatever you find, we had a similar case. In fact, somebody was saying that I delivered a judgment where women can become priests. Very interesting case. So many interesting things come to court, but only thing is we will have no time to read all these things. But then this judgment very, very important because it shows how much bankrupt we have gone. There was a father who was a village pujari. Whenever you go to the temple, he'll take the daughter. And then the daughter realized what to do this puja, everything. She was performing. One day the father died. And then she started doing the puja. She unfortunately had two cousins who are the men in the same village. They said, you are a woman, you cannot do puja. She said that I have been doing along with my father. Whenever my father is absent, I was doing. What is your problem? Then they created a problem in the village. It became a law and order problem. When it became a law and order problem, the revenue authorities are coming. One Tahsildar came from the Taluk, Musalampati Taluk. She was a woman. That's most important. Merely because you are a woman, you doesn't become conscious of all your rights. You are also a symbol of authority. She convened the village meeting and asked why you are opposing. No, madam. Only men can be pujaris, not women. Then she found the easy solution is to appease the male members who are more majority and not the women were not vocal. So she wrote a minute by saying that the two boys will be performing the puja and this Pinnayakal, who is a lady, she must go to court and establish her right. This is a very wrong interpretation because when an executive magistrate comes to a village for enforcing law and order, She has to only maintain status quo, and she has to ask the warring party to go to the court. She should have asked the cousins to go to the court and not this lady, because she was already doing the puja. On the other hand, she rewrote. So in my judgment, I wrote that this lady, being a woman, she has not only understood the constitution, she failed to discharge her duty as the executive magistrate because she should have protected this woman. Then I examined this issue more deeply and found there is no law by which women can be prevented from being a priest. On the contrary, they were worshipping the women in a goddess form. The women can be worshipped in a goddess form. Why the women can be prevented from doing puja? She does the same thing at home also. She tells her children how to be religious. She performs every ritual at home. And why do some people say that they cannot? So I wrote in my order that there is no legal provision to stop women being a priest in a temple. And in the Vedic time, there are very many Vedic scholars who are women in our country. And therefore nothing prevents them. When this country has to be run both by men and women, and they walk on two legs, and she holds the sky. The sky may fall. It's not the men's hand which holds it. It's also women who is also holding. Therefore, when they hold the sky along with the men, there is no law which prevents. Now the judgment is written. How to enforce the judgment? It has to go to the same village. Then I told the district collector, take a police force and go and get the key to the lady. A police force along with the district collector went to the village, got the key and gave to her. It's a symbolic victory. It may be the victory only in that village. It doesn't become universal principle. Later we saw the Supreme Court in 2 years back in the Sabarimala. The women devotees can go. 5 judges of the Supreme Court wrote a judgment that women can visit Sabarimala. There is no legal prohibition. On the contrary, it will be a constitutional violation if you prevent women. But the women are not able to go. Last 3 years, there is a judgment of Supreme Court of 5 judges. Still women are not able to go. On the contrary, a petition is filed to review the judgment. That review has to be decided by 7 judges. Now 7 judges bench are not followed. So notwithstanding court writing orders, notwithstanding, because under Indian constitution, it is the court which can interpret the constitution. It is the court which decides what the constitution says. There is the English saying, it is not what is written in the constitution, it is what the judges say. Now judges have said 4:1, that way there is no legal bar, but women cannot go. That is why I am saying, when you talk about human rights, it is not enough to have laws. It is not enough to have enforcement and checking. On the other hand, something like educating the people to accept this is the rule of law. This is what we are all for. It is in that sense it becomes important as human rights education. Now you ask this NHRC lady who said school curriculum. Everybody says they are torturing the children. If you say environmental, teach them. Traffic violation, teach in the school. Human rights violation, teach in the school. Nothing will come. In fact, they will, by choice, they will leave out Article 21 in writing examinations. We can't compel people. By compelling, you cannot make them to learn. On the other hand, who should this education should be taught? It is to the judges, it is to the police officers, it is to the government officials. That is why we have contact rules for government. Don't employ child labor. Don't take dowry. In fact, for IAS officers, there is another peculiar rule. There is a confidential role, how an officer is functioning. The entry number 6 says, what is his attitude towards SC/ST? His superior officer has to write, his attitude is healthy. He is not discriminating. Today, after 71 years, when Article 21 takes, Article 14 says everybody is equal, we do not have people. We have 1/5 of the people in this country who are not equal. You will show in this film that the tribals of this country are not treated equal. Once Mahatma Gandhi said, India lives in villages. Baba Sahib Ambedkar asked him, which village you are not from? There are 2 villages in every village. The village for the upper caste people, there is a village for the scheduled caste, Karani. She is called Karani. Now when this film director, Jnanaved, went for location, he was struggling to find the tribal settlement. So he went to the colony and asked them, where are these Irula tribes are there? Then they showed, no, that place, a forsaken place, where there are no roads, there are only buds are there. Where there are no electricity, they have no ration card, they have no Aadhaar card, they are not covered by voter list. Are they not Indian citizens? Are they not entitled to select their own people? They are not there. They are excluded society. Therefore, this Janavel gave an interview to a paper. He said, India lives in three villages. The main village, there is a colony, and there is a tribal colony. Now, when we are going to have 1/5 humanity outside, can we still talk about human rights? That is why I am saying, this visually more comes to your house, you may even give her a coffee in your drawing room. But when Shengedi comes, you will not even allow her. This is the theoretical difference that we have. We do not treat them equal. Then what is the point in praising Jai Bhim? Jai Bhim is a slogan. Because this film is taken in all languages, they were looking for a common title. And it so happened, the victory of the film, Jai Bhim, the title is really important. Wherever I go, people say, Jai Bhim Chandru. Within a month, I am known as Jai Bhim Chandru. I am proud. This slogan can unite the affected people in this country into one platform. Bring their demand. What is this film aiming at? Two things it is aiming at. One, that there is a victimized family by the police torture. The Raja Khan was killed by the police. Why was he killed? He was suspected to be connected with the theft. Was he connected? No. Then why did he call to the police station? Now that is a very important story, that when the British came to this country, they want to have established law and order, because that rule should continue. They are a very small number, but they were trying to cover a large area like the British India. You know, England is a very small colony, but India is some 100 times bigger than England. They want to rule this country. How will they rule? Create a police force. How will the police rule? They will establish law. If there is any disturbance, they will establish law. They won't hesitate to use firearms. The firepower which gave the British superiority. What about crime detection? Crime detection is not their concern. The British, despite their civilized country, invented a barbaric law in this country called Criminal Tribes Act. According to them, some tribes are criminal. They will continue to do criminal acts. How to solve this? Declare them as criminal tribe. Once you declare them as criminal tribe, what happens? How do the system work? Every male who is 16 years old must register with the police station. Their finger will be taken in the police station. In Tamil, it is called Kiral Sattam. Kiral means the finger, thumb impression. Their height, weight, their body marks, everything is noted. Now once it is recorded complete, if there is a crime in that locality, there will be a tom-tom in the village. All males are required to surrender at the police station. Within 24 hours, if they do not surrender, the person who is absenting themselves, he is a criminal. The inspector becomes a judge, the police station becomes a court, punishment, whatever it is, can be the punishment. Like this, the criminal tribes, the tribes of this country were punished out of a most uncivilized law, out of a law which defies every kind of human right. They have been punished. The Congress party and the Communist party demanded repeal of this law, saying it's against human dignity. How do you say the whole community is criminals? The British refused because that is an invention they made. In England they may be civilized. England they may be talking about John Stuart Mill, essays on liberty, which will be made as a lesson for us. What is liberty? But in India, they were exploiting this country. They were killing the tribals. They were victimizing them on false ground. After the independence, as promised, the Congress party withdrew this Criminal Tribes Act. So what is these tribes are now known as denotified tribes, DNT. In Tamil they are called Seer Marabinar. Once it is Seer Marabinar, denotified tribe, they should have honorable living, but the policeman doesn't think anymore they are denotified. In their mind, they are continued to be the criminals. Therefore, in any place, if there is a crime, they look for Paravas, they look for Irulas, they look for whatever. Every tribe they look for. If one person is caught, that is enough for them. So this film is another thing to show the debauchery of the criminal justice system in this country. At the first scene, you will see they are coming out of jail. And the police says, are you Wanda? Come here. Are you Mulli and Chettiar? Go that side. They are segregated. For what purpose? Giving them reward to send them back in some unresolved crimes. That is why in the story also, there was a theft in the village. In the theft stolen property, the police shared the booty. Now he has to find because there is a pressure from the top. What happened to the case? They have to find and solve the problem. So this Raja Kannan, who belongs to Karava community, he was caught and taken to the police station. For what purpose? Give them some lunch. He was beaten to accept the guilt which he has not committed. And in the process he died. And that is how the whole story started. This is also to show how much indignity, apart from inclusive society, the entire state police force is used against them and continue to repress them. And there is a scene where Prakash Raj questions all this. He says, no, we should also give some pressure, then only truth will come out. He was taken to a meeting of all the tribal people. By the time they were organized themselves. And then he was taken. One small boy tells, I don't want to go to school. If anybody loses their eraser, they will say, he is the fellow who is taken it. Why would I go to the school? How will any tribal will go to the school if they are going to be treated like a criminal? This is not something new or extinguished. Many people ask me, after this judgment, has these things have come down? It has not come down, it has gone up. And then if you say that they should not be treated as criminal, police find it does not accept. Today you will find any case sheet. Raja Kanan's name will be written and before his name they put KR. KR means Karava. Who authorizes them to write the caste and the tribe in the case sheet? Today it continues in the criminal justice. We go give lectures in Hyderabad in the police academy. I go and give lectures. Orientation program, sensitization program. Very, very unexpectedly, top police officers are also welcoming this film. Because one top police officer is responsible for unearthing the crime. Therefore, they are happy. We are not good like this. Therefore, we are happy. What about this ordinary police? We give them lectures, but then it doesn't percolate down. For ordinary Gurumurtis, this is how he has been taught. This is how we have been taught to unrivaled crime. What about torture? There are 120 methods of torture in this country. Written books are there. Rule books are there. How to torture the person without getting him a visual hurt. As a judge, I had a case where a woman came and told me that his brother is kept in jail and he has got 40 injuries. When I asked the Advocate General, he said, no, it's not. No, my lord, it's not nothing. We always give good treatment. How to prove? His government says something, privately they say something. So I found one lawyer sitting there in the court. I told him, take a taxi, go to the jail, interview the prisoner and come back. Within 2 hours he came back. He said, sir, he has got visible injuries and his leg is also broken and no treatment. I asked the Advocate General, what do you say now? Please give us 1 week time to find counter to reply to this. Every time they want to evade a situation, they'll ask for time. By the time that boy will die, that's what happened in Satapuram. Father and son attacked by the police and the magistrate remanded them. There was no medical help. Today the law requires when a person is produced for remand, the magistrate must ask him, do you have any ailment? Do you have discomfort? I'll send you to hospital. He should send him. On the other hand, he sent him to the jail and they died. A criminal case is going on in Madurai. So when this boy, when the Advocate General asked for time, I said no. I will see myself whether he is injured or not. Next day we asked him to produce. When the door was open, he could not walk. He could not get into the stage. Then he showed his shirt. There are several visible injuries. He could not walk. When I asked the public prosecutor, what is all this? Is there any civilization in this country? He said, Sir, he is a pleaded criminal. There are 23 cases against him. 4 murder cases. I said, does it mean police are empowered to kill him? The police can take law into order. These are most important things. Why I am saying is what? In my concluding remark, I want to say, in this country, people who are killed by encounter, the police officers are praised. Even Surya, in a film called Kaka Kaka, you would have seen, when he is taking the pistol and shooting that fellow, nobody condemns this. We are a country governed by rule of law. How is that the inspector can kill him? But then the Surya gives a lot of explanation, saying that if I am going to produce you in court, produce evidence, feed you, kept in jail, the government costs so many lakhs of rupees. Now this 6 rupees, when he takes the bullet, by the time the theatre, nobody can hear anything. So much applause. People know what's going to happen. And then he shoots. And the applause continues. When people think a person can be killed in public, you saw in Hyderabad, there was a death, unfortunate death. But the inspector was garlanded, sweets were distributed. In Nirbhaya case, people said, hang this killer. I told them they'll have to be hanged only after a trial. No sir, your judges will take your own time. This is the best solution. So we think, we applaud. When there is no rule of law, we applaud. Police stations become courts. Inspectors become judges. That is the most dangerous thing. In human rights, the first lesson could be rule of law. No person's liberty can be curtailed except by the procedure established by law. That is Article 22. We can't be impatient. We can have instant Italy, we can have instant copies, but we cannot have instant death. I told them, there is no law by which a juvenile can be punished. She knows how many juveniles she is defended. If a boy is below 16 years, now 18 years has now become 16 years, he can't be hanged, he cannot be tried in others. But then the people who are protesting said, hang them. They asked me, somebody asked me very seriously, sir, is there not a law by which this boy can be hanged? I said, there is no law. Then change the law. And government change the law. Because it is a vote bank politics that we are having. They want a law, we'll bring a law tomorrow. It is not, that is why Justice Krishna, whom I have kept as a mentor, he said it is not by the law who people are killed, it is by the unlaw. It is like the police station in Kamapuram where people are killed, not by any court. It is the unlaw we will have to oppose. The human rights are meant to educate people that law must provide and not, otherwise this country will become a jungle. And that is what this film is saying. The second message which I want to tell you, when a woman comes with a thumb impression, her daughter reads, as I told you, education is a liberating factor for the community, for anybody for that matter. Dr. Ambedkar said, learn, educate and agitate. That slogan has come out in this film. The woman starts reading. I think once a day will come when these people will get up and say, I am no longer an excluded people. I am part of these inclusive people. Bharat, that is India, that is Bharat. I belong to this country. There is a faith in this law. There is a faith in the judiciary. There is a faith in the system. Therefore, give me my share. This demand has now come after this film. In fact, the Chief Minister who saw this film, he was very much moved. He wrote a letter. No Chief Minister writes letters to cinema production company, but this Chief Minister wrote. He said, if there are going to be honest officers, courageous lawyers, judge with integrity, many of these injustices will come down. He did not say it with any propaganda purpose. On the other hand, he also said, our planning radar has not attracted them. We will now start looking into that problem. On the Diwali day, he went to a village in Mahabalipuram, where the Parava settlement is there. He spent his entire day there. He took all officers. On the spot, there were community services. On the spot, there were pattas. On the spot, there were house pattas were given. He also celebrated Diwali with them. Not only he did not stop, the next day he sent a circular to all the district collectors that I need statistics of these people in this country. In Tamil Nadu, we have 1% of the Adivasi population, which comes to around 8 lakhs. Now every district collector has been asked to send a weekly report. It should reach the secretariat on Friday 12 noon. They want detail why no government scheme has gone to them. The collectors are responsible. Why? What is their demand? If all these details come, I'm sure the government will do something. But if one film can change the direction, one film can bring me so many people to listen to me, we can take more films. Will India change? That will not change. The Manusha Mela did not run more than 2 weeks. Government did not abolish caste-based burial ground. Sometimes certain things work. It all depends how much we are aware of human rights. Thank you.